Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cantona's Collar podcast, which is mainly about United, but we're going to be rambling quite a bit with me, Connor, with Ronan.
Hello.
And Aaron.
Hello.
And Harry.
Hello.
And we're doing this every Sunday. And right now we're just testing things out, seeing how everything works. We'll probably get quite a few guests on, so most of the pressure won't be on us. Aaron, you're the only one here that really knows about football in depth. So, what are your predictions for the last few days of the transfer window?
Usually, the big clubs don't do mega business, but Arsenal, United, Liverpool,
Just mainly
you'd
just
expect them to spend big.
It's really just asking about United.
United in particular will probably spend the most. Obviously central midfield's a priority. And probably from now to Monday evening will be linked with every single central midfielder in Europe.
How many do you think we're going to sign in the end?
I wouldn't be surprised if we signed no one, but then I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up with 3.
What 3?
At this moment in time, I think Maro and Fellaini.
Right, you don't have to say Marwan. Everyone knows who Fellaini is.
And
Herrera.
Yep, and Daniele De Rossi.
Isn't he staying?
I think if Roma were to accept a bid, then you'd think the player would wonder why the club's happy to accept a bid. And I think if it came down to it, I think he would probably say, alright, I'll make a move where I could maybe add a few medals. I mean, don't forget, he's won the World Cup. And quite frankly, Roma are a couple of seasons away for actually even getting into the Champions League, let alone challenging for the title there. If he's content with just winning Italian Cups, then he should stay.
Okay.
But I always say you don't win medals for loyalty. So if a bid came in and Roma were to accept that bid, then I genuinely do think that he would think, okay.
How much would it take?
Well, I think the reports were that 10 million, 11 million pounds was bid. I actually think 15 to 17 would do it.
Is he worth it?
Yes, he's 30 in his peak, highly experienced, like I said, World Cup winner, and he won that at a young age, and he's the type of player that we've lacked. I mean, people always forget, even though Roy Keane was a proper hard man, he could actually play, and De Rossi is actually built in that similar mould, and I can actually see him complementing Carrick well.
Alright, feel free to chip in, Ronan and Harry. This isn't the Connor and Aaron podcast.
I'm going to overpay for Fellaini, to be honest. I think that's what we're going to do on deadline day.
We're not going to spend the €6 million on Herrera.
I don't know, it seems quite complicated, the whole Herrera thing, but I'd obviously like him from to Fellaini, but I think we're just going to overpay for Fellaini on deadline day.
Do you agree, Harry?
Well, the Daily Star reported that we the Daily Star have linked us with Herrera, Fellaini, De Rossi, and 3 other midfielders, which is...
It's going to be a busy few days, yeah.
It's getting pretty ridiculous, the amount
No, we're getting them.
And,
Daily Star said so.
I can see us ending up with no one, easily. Our transfer window so far has been a shambles. But, however, we know that Herrera, the transfer will be difficult, but I'm sure he would be interested in a move because it's hard to turn down United. If Roma accepted a bid for De Rossi, I'm sure he'd change his mind and come. Because once you've had a bid accepted, you can tell that you may be wanted there, but you're not valued as unpriced as not having a price.
Well said.
The other thing as well is, Roma have actually done business where they've actually brought a few central midfielders in, and they've got young players coming through as well.
True, man.
And the way they want to play. Oh yeah, they signed apparently a long-term United target in Strootman.
We weren't in for him.
Well, that's what he said, but I think he was heavily scouted. And at the end, after Sir Alex retired, I think he wasn't a David Moyes player. I think, like Harry said, transfer window's been a shambles, and I think a part of that, I don't blame David Moyes, but he came in and he wanted to make a mark.
Yeah, I agree.
That is the reason he went for Fabregas. He could have played it safe, and he could have signed Strootman. Let's be frank, he could have signed Strootman, got in a central midfielder, but would he have been the signings that, say, Tottenham have made, that Chelsea have made, that City have made? He wouldn't have had as much of, say, a worldwide effect. Whereas someone like Fabregas would send ripples throughout Europe. And I think Moyes went in for targets that were maybe, they were gettable if the club wanted to sell. And I think Barcelona put a stop to it. But I still believe that if we had gone in with a higher opening bid, maybe it would be different right now. Because I genuinely did think that Barcelona, somebody was indicating that Fabregas was available. United wouldn't be bidding for a player that we couldn't sign. It would just be pointless. And for Ed Woodward to fly back from Australia 2-3 days before the club was actually going to arrive back in England was a bit strange. And you would think that if it was transfer business, somebody had obviously indicated. And I personally think that personal terms would probably agree with Fabregas. And it was always just Barcelona playing hardball. And it's a similar situation to Snyder, actually, because that summer Inter needed to sell players to balance their books. They sold Eto'o to Angie, and then they didn't need to sell Snyder. And I think similar things happen with Barcelona. They've got too many central midfielders at the moment who aren't going to get game time, and I think Thiago went before Fabregas. It could have been a completely different situation had we have not targeted Thiago first and gone for Fabregas.
Yeah.
Well, obviously it's the first season in a very long time without Sir Alex. When he went, I was not happy about the prospect of David Moyes. I did not want him. I didn't think he was the right man. I wanted Mourinho personally. But now that we've seen Mourinho back in England and had David Moyes, Ferguson definitely made the right decision in choosing Moyes over Mourinho.
I was the same. I thought I wanted Mourinho, but no, definitely David Moyes.
Mourinho is a brilliant manager, but he's not a Manchester United manager.
Yeah.
I think he has the ego. He has that aura. The issue was he was made for United, but he went off the rails. Real Madrid. I mean, it happened from Chelsea when he was Chelsea manager first. He had this long-standing feud with Barcelona, and don't get me wrong, Barcelona are far from saints, but because of the style of football they played, the world loved them. So every single club he went to after that, with Inter, you see him dancing around the new camp after beating them. Then he goes to Real Madrid, they're direct rivals, and I think he got so caught up into beating Barcelona, he took his eyes off the ball. Don't get me wrong, he's won the trophies there, but if he had been more respectful, he would have got that job. And I remember myself tweeting that back in March, when we played Real Madrid, I actually said, Jose Mourinho's at Old Trafford, he might as well pick his office furniture while he's there. Because I genuinely thought, at that point in time, that this was Sir Alex's final season. I always said 2013, summer of 2013, and I was right. And I genuinely thought he was the man. And at post-match as well, he was very humble, and that's not what Mourinho is like. And I think that was his basically job interview.
Yeah, because I was at the match at Old Trafford in March, and Mourinho really played to the crowd with the chance to sit down Mourinho and stuff like that. And everyone, I'm pretty sure 99% of the stadium thought he would become Manchester United manager after Ferguson announced his retirement. And the thing is, he's got the personality of Tommy Docherty, or
Who's Tommy Docherty now? I'm going to sound really bad here.
an old ex-United manager who the media love.
Have I just lost like top red points?
But the attractivity of play, it's about as attractive as a donkey's left buttock. So you can see why Ferguson wouldn't pick him, because it's not the United way.
I
wasn't happy with Moyes at the start, and then I became really happy with his appointment after he played Chelsea on Monday last week.
Well, can I just say, I knew who Tommy Docherty was. I was fishing.
Yeah. The point I was going to make was, it's all about longevity. I mean, Mourinho, obviously he could have stayed for a long time, but in the past he's gone to a club for a few years and moved on, whereas David Moyes has been at Everton 10 years, and providing it doesn't all go horribly wrong, he's probably going to be at United for most of his career.
End of his career. Where can you go after United?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, unless he wants to really manage Scotland, you can't see him leaving a job like Manchester United, because regardless of who you support, who you've played for in your past, if a top job, say like Barcelona, Real Madrid, Manchester United, Bayern Munich, come along, you take them jobs, and they sometimes, if that's the only top club you're going to manage, that's your pinnacle. And I think David Moyes being British, he always spoke about last season going to the Bundesliga, and I remember him being linked with Schalke.
Yeah.
But he was never really going to go to Germany, even though German football would have suited him. He wants to learn, and he wants to get better, and Sir Alex, even at 70, 71, he always wanted to still improve.
Which is why he was trying the diamond.
Well, the thing is though, David Moyes has got a similar mentality, and I remember when the statement was read, when he was appointed, and you had the Glazers commenting David Gill, and I think, was it Bobby Charlton said, he's cut from the same cloth?
Yep.
You can see similarities. This whole bringing in youth. I personally I got slated on Twitter by saying this, but I personally think he's better tactically.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
You saw with the sub, the Giggs
The
one.
thing is, he's going to have to work on his style of play, because he is very much. Don't get me wrong, he's going to take time to adapt. He's in a different situation. He's not in a situation like an Everton. At Everton, it was not losing the game. So you are going to set up and say, right, no, we're going to be hard to break down. At Manchester United, you are expected to go out and try and win games, regardless. I mean, people can slate him for his tactics last Monday against Chelsea, but at the end of the day, it's also easy to say that if Sir Alex was in charge, we could have lost that game, chasing it.
Yeah, I wrote an article titled "A Look into the Future for Manchester United" about a week after Ferguson announced his retirement and Moyes was announced as new manager, and I said in it that at the start of Moyes' career at Everton as manager, it was easy to see he was a defensive side. He based his strengths straight in the middle of the pitch, having a strong keeper, strong centre half, strong centre midfielders, and it worked for him. They didn't lose many matches, however, it wasn't attractive, and they didn't win too many either. It was mostly a ball draw. And slowly throughout his Everton's career, he's developed his play into a more attacking style with the likes of Marouane Fellaini and making Leighton Baines more attacking fullback. And it's easy to see that at the end of his Everton tenure, he managed to have strengthened in the wide areas of the pitch. And at United, he clearly wants to strengthen in the middle of the pitch after trying for so many centre mids of what we've heard. And I think give him a few years and we'll soon see a solid core of the United team.
Ronan, do you want to talk? Because you haven't really talked much.
No, what I was going to say was, with Ryan Giggs, we all love Giggs, but Ferguson would always leave him on, even when he was having one of his typical poor games, and Ferguson wouldn't make a substitution before the 70th minute. Whereas with Moyes we see 60th minute changes and Giggs coming off, which I think is what we've needed for a long time.
Yeah, I was discussing the fact that Moyes was a better tactical manager than Ferguson, and that Ferguson was a better manager. As we all know, he's definitely in the top one best managers in ever.
No bias there.
I said that more a better tactician. A keyword. If you highlight the word tactic, it shows that they know what to do when they're in trouble. So Moyes knows to make substitutions, not wait it. The better manager is the person who better handles the media, the players. They can. Obviously, Ferguson was a brilliant tactician, but Moyes is a small level above.
One of the things that's amazed me is how good Moyes is at dealing with the press. Like, he's never put a word wrong.
Yeah,
He's always...
as when he came to United, people like Ed Woodward would have given advice, and I'm sure Sir Alex Ferguson would have given advice on how to deal with the media at United, because it's completely different to Everton. It's such a massive club, it's global. I mean, you saw in their visit to Japan on tour this year, there were millions of fans surrounding them on their coach.
A bit drastic
As a
there.
United manager, every single word's going to be analysed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see that obviously is loved by the media in some respects, of course, his brilliant personality, but he was also hated by many after he refused to let them into the Manchester United training ground.
Well,
I
think
he's given advice to Moyes on how to deal with such tension, and he's clearly, because Moyes handled it very, very well. He's not revealed too much. He's only revealed it when he wanted to, and so far it's going excellent for him.
I think going back to the tactics, you were saying how Moyes' substitutions earlier, there were so many times last season. One example I can think of is Southampton at home, where I'm amazed we didn't concede more goals, because there were spells of about 30 minutes where you could easily see Southampton were about to score and there were no changes made. Somehow we managed to keep them out.
Yeah, I think the thing with, like Harry said, he's not gonna sit there and wait for something to happen to react to. He's not gonna wait to say a goal, for instance, right? He'll look at it and think, okay. He'll see trends, that's the thing. He can analyse a game while it's happening, and if there's a, say, 3-4 attacks have gone down Everett's side, he won't take Everett off, but he'll look at the protection that Everett's got. And if on that side it's Nani, he could bring on Butler. And he could, strengthen that side and make sure that the, crosses don't come in. He will adapt, and he'll do that with his team selections. And people won't notice this. People are complaining that Danny Welbeck's playing on the left wing, and he is not a winger. But you think about it, on the pitch,
He doesn't play as a winger.
Well, no, but you have different situations that happen.
He's not gonna. Moyes isn't gonna play Welbeck on the wing just so he can play Welbeck. There's clearly a reason behind it. Obviously, in training they've been working on it,
but
and it's not just going to be random punt out there.
I've always think it's more to do with changing as the game goes on. For instance, tomorrow we are going to play Liverpool. Liverpool are a heavy-based possession side.
Well, today, by the time this goes out.
Well, yeah, we're going to play them. You think about their central midfield three, which will be Gerrard, Lucas and Henderson. They're going to try and keep the ball. Aspas and Coutinho will cut in, and that will be their strength, that middle of the pitch. Now, if it came to it, what we can do is drop Rooney into midfield, and we can play Welbeck just off Van Persie, and make it like a little cross in midfield, and slot players in that can flow and stop Liverpool from passing. And it doesn't mean that he's going to play in a certain position. It's not like you're playing 4-4-2 and you've got to play 4 defenders, 4 midfielders, and then 2 attackers. You can play different players in different positions. And Danny Welbeck as well, which he doesn't get credit for, tactically, for a young boy, he is absolutely brilliant because he knows his role. And at left back, left wing as well, when he is playing from that side, he protects Evra because of his run ability.
We were talking about Rossi earlier, and very similar to De Rossi is Welbeck with the fact that he can adapt to the position he's given. He's not just, with Wayne Rooney, he's always been upset when he's being played on the wing instead of as a central forward. And he's not a player who can adapt. But Welbeck has shown so far that he can clearly adapt, right wing, left wing, centre forward, wherever he's given to play. And it's half passion, but half pure talent and tactical mindset.
And he's even learning how to finish now.
Can I just say, going back to what Aaron said about how, as a Manchester United manager, every word you say is going to be analysed. I think we saw that when
jumping back quite a bit.
David Moyes said something about how we'd need Wayne Rooney if Van Persie were to get injured or so.
That was strange, yeah.
And then, obviously, that blew up. It added fuel to the fire, and it didn't put Moyes in any better of a position. And also, going on to the Moyes...
Actually, I think that was explained, like Gary Neville explained that. He was saying Rooney would step up into the main striker role.
Yeah, that's what he meant. He actually meant not in terms of starting lineup. Yeah. All he said was, it's like saying, for me, it's like saying if Van Persie and Rooney got injured, we need Welbeck to step up. We need Hernandez to step up. It doesn't mean they're 3rd or 4th strikers. It doesn't mean they're not going to play. It just means that when you're playing, you need to step up if we've not got a certain threat.
That's the thing.
So
as soon as
if Van Persie's not playing, it would be common knowledge to say, right, Wayne Rooney's the main man. If Wayne Rooney wasn't playing tomorrow, the emphasis would be on Van Persie. Does that mean we're undermining Van Persie? No, we're not. Rooney was not being undermined by that comment. The media made it out because he was being linked with Chelsea at the time. And it was, will he move, will he put in a transfer request? He doesn't like the club, he's moody. Every single day there was a different Rooney story. And at every single press conference so far that David Moyes has had, he's been asked about Wayne Rooney.
Yeah.
And I think the way he's handled the media...
He's done well, I think.
Put it this way, if Sir Alex was still in charge, I think Rooney would have been sold. Right?
That's clearly a personal issue, though.
Yeah, it would have been because of personal issues, but Rooney would have been sold. But if we say right now that Sir Alex didn't want to sell Rooney, but Rooney wanted to move, Sir Alex would have done exactly what he did in 2010, when he came out and he says publicly he wants to leave.
Yep.
At no point did Sir Alex ever say, I want to keep him at the club. He said his head's been turned. And I think Sir Alex would have come and said different. Their approaches are different, Sir Alex's and David Moyes. David Moyes has been honest because he's realised he's got to win the fans over. In the media is the only time we're going to hear and obtain information about the club. And that's always going to come out of David Moyes' mouth. So, whereas we got used to Sir Alex and his almost mind games with the media and, dropping red herrings here and there and not being completely honest, David Moyes won't do that because he knows for a fact he can't do that because he doesn't want to imitate. You can't imitate Sir Alex. You can't go in there and start saying, yeah, Wayne Rooney's injured. Then the next day, he's in the starting lineup. That won't work because at the end of the day, right at this moment in time, he would be seen as copying. David Moyes, 5, 6, 7 years down the line could do it because he might have 3 league titles behind his back. He might have a European Cup behind his back. He might have an FA Cup or a League Cup. If he's won the trophies and he's earned the respect, then he can begin to really show himself. Because at the end of the day, the only way we're always going to carry on being successful is if we are the envy of everyone else.
Yeah,
and
once he's established himself as a Manchester United manager, he can clearly not copy Sir Alex, but use his mind games as to an advantage.
I mean, he did it the other day with Chelsea when he turned around and he ignored Jose Mourinho's comments, but he will if he wants to, it was after the Community Shield when he said, are you ready for the mind games? And he basically was stood there and very bullishly responded. And you think, if it came down to it, the last 3 games and all the managers were just biting at each other. You had relegation teams, managers, and the title challenging managers. At the end of the day, I think David Moyes would actually play it calm. Pellegrini, as a manager, is very calm, but I think when the pressure's on him, his team, even though on the touchline doesn't show it, it shows in his team. His teams are nervous. Jose, when he's under pressure, he will blame outside agencies. He'll start blaming the FA, the Premier League. He'll blame the referees, anything.
Like last night.
Well, like last night, but I think David Moyes, I think, would go straight for managers. If he wanted to say something or wanted to play mind games, he would go straight for the teams. He wouldn't go for, say, the referees, or he wouldn't put pressure on referees like, say, Sir Alex did. But I think, as time goes on, David Moyes will more and more come out of his shell and will learn more, and he'll adapt more and he'll evolve himself. Whether he puts his principles on the line, like Sir Alex did, and pushes the boundaries like Sir Alex did, because, let's be quite frank, Sir Alex was hated. And he was hated simply because he protected United with his life. But behind the scenes, Sir Alex was a completely different person. And if David Moyes does something similar, it will be because he's successful. But the best example is Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers at Liverpool tries to play the crowd. He tries to play the fans. This is Liverpool Football Club. This is the history. This is the traditions. This is how they're meant to play. Liverpool fans are. He will always try and play to the fans, yet he knows for a fact he's got to keep the fans on side because he's not won the trophies yet. He's trying to build something so he can't lose the fans. Whereas David Moyes has come in and he's had Sir Alex tell everyone, this is your manager, you've got to get behind him, and that is your main job. David Moyes knows he'll get the support, so he'll slowly come out of his shell. But I think the way he's started, the way he's come across, I think he will be a success, and I think if he does win the league title this season, I think that'll be brilliant. But I think the best result we can actually get this season is if he actually progresses in Europe. He's not got real Champions League experience, but I genuinely think he's going to surprise in the Champions League simply because he's very good tactically.
Well, it's already been mentioned, but today, big game against Liverpool, of course. Is it a bigger must-win than against Chelsea at home?
I think it is, because the lift that the players and the fans will get from knowing that they've just beaten Liverpool is absolutely massive, and it always helps our season. So I think it's a bigger lift.
Shall we do predictions then?
Alright.
Alright, someone else go first because I'm still thinking.
I'm going to go 2-1 United. I think we're going to win. 2-1 United.
Aaron?
I'm going to stick with my early prediction. I think it's a draw, simply because I think the two teams will just cancel each other out. I think both teams will score. And of course, I hope for United to win, but I think if it's a similar situation where Liverpool are in full control of the game and, we're playing on the counter-attack and Liverpool were to say to take the lead and we were to equalise, I think that would be a good point, because our opening fixtures aren't the best, let's say, and a point at Anfield is always a good result regardless of what anybody else says, but of course we want to beat them, but I think it'll be a draw.
Alright, I'm going with 1-1. I was talking to you, Aaron, a couple of days ago about how the aim against the bigger teams is not to lose instead of having to win.
Yeah.
And I think that the players won't go out with that mentality, but I would be extremely happy with a draw. But say at the start of the game, but as always, I'd be slightly disappointed at the end. I'm going with a 1-1 draw with Van Persie and Sturridge scoring.
Famous.
1-1 as well.
I guess that concludes our first episode. our
Yep.
introduction
It started off as a test, but
Our-
it really
our
developed
introduction
into the first episode.
Cantona's caught up. We hope you enjoyed it, and goodbye.
Aaron, say goodbye.
Bye.
Ronan, do
Goodbye.
what you want. Goodbye, everyone. Where's